Steve, one of the things you talk about in the book is expecting the best and the importance of having the right expectations. I wonder if you can sort of develop that idea for us a bit.
Well, things have moved on a lot. I mean, I wrote that book a few years ago, and I think it's absolutely, I still read it sometimes, bits of it, and think, yeah, that still makes sense. But my point about expecting the best is, I suppose it's a sense of optimism. That's the kind of essence of it. But the research that's come out in the last few years around people achieving what they want to achieve in life is more about doing the very best that you can than it's about necessarily constantly hitting the targets you want to hit. In other words, you may, like my daughter's doing GCSEs, literally at this moment, revising for our exams, and these are big exams. You know, she wants to do really well. She's very conscientious, and she's working very hard, certainly harder than I did, and you know, when I was at school. And she's revising, and she's spending time to get it right. She wants to achieve A star is the gold standard. You know, she wants to get as many gold stars as many A stars as she can. But the reality is that so she's already setting herself up for, you know, she knows what good is, or what world class is. But in order for her to achieve that, I think she has to be sensible. And by that I mean, if you go around and say A star is success, anything less is failure, then the risk there is that you get a B for whatever reason. You know, some of the questions didn't quite work, or you weren't zoned in on the day, and you come away completely gutted and disappointed in yourself, and that massively affects your self-esteem. Or you simply expect that when you go into the exam, you're going to be able to do the very best that you can. Right? So it's not the outcome you're focusing on. It's just, you know what the outcome is, but you're just simply going and thinking, I'm going to go up. The only thing I'll ever say to my daughter, as she prepares, and this is, I'm not just saying this for effect, she will never ever, and has never heard from my lips, Anna, it's all about A stars. It's all about A stars, right? What I will have said to her 1,000 times is, do the very best that you can. You have great potential, you're very talented, you're very gifted. She's into dance, into drama, into, you know, she's got maths and English obviously to do. If you prepare and do everything you can within your gift, however your neurons are wired, and you prepare, and go in there expecting and knowing that you can deliver your very best, because that's in your gift, isn't it? We've got control of that. We can decide whether we do our best. Whether our best is a gold medal, or whether our best is an A star is another matter. But we can do our best. The paradox is that if you go into something and only accepting A star as the outcome you can achieve, which you should achieve, and you failed if you don't achieve A star, then if somebody scores you down, which is outside of your control to a greater or lesser degree, you can really do what you can do, you come out thinking, I'm not good enough. And then, over time, unless you've got tremendous support and resilience, you could easily get worn down. So for me, expect the best is about going in, knowing I'm ready to give the best I've got, I'm going to give it everything, and then I'll worry less about the result. The paradox is more often you relax more, therefore you can do what you need to do, your brain's clearer, you'll answer the questions better, you'll get better scores. You know, it's the same in golf. If you want to put a ball in a hole from 4 feet at Augusta, if you stand over the ball worrying about the consequence of it going in, almost certainly the ball will not go in. You'll be so tense you'll miss it. But if you stand over a ball and think, I've trained, I'm ready, I've practiced, I couldn't put any more time in, I'm going to do what I know. I'm going to hit this ball to the best of my ability. And you know what? You'll be more relaxed, and it'll probably go in the hole. So that's what I mean by that.
And I fully get what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense to me. What I would say is, where's the line? Where do you go from not putting too much emphasis on the result, but on your own performance and doing the best you can be, but at the same time not kind of then almost talking yourself out of the result? If that makes sense.
Well, they're two slightly different things. I know what you mean, because whenever I say this to an audience, I can sense a chunk of people in the room going, he's become a softie, you know, because when I was young, it was like, you know, when you did sports day, you turned up on sports day, and the winner actually got a medal, and the other 32 kids who didn't win the race got nothing. You didn't go have a medal for turning up. So, you know, I think it's not like you're giving somebody permission to not try, to not bother. You're not saying it doesn't matter if you don't win, right? You're actually saying to them, you know, on the contrary, I want you to give everything you've got, But with the understanding that sometimes, no matter how much effort you put in, no matter how much you work at something, you don't always get the results that you think you'd either deserve or want. That's just life. You can prepare for an interview and not get the job. So, because there is another part, which is about accepting failure, which is a whole other story. But in terms of the thing you've touched on, I do think there are some people, and I've seen this, I've worked with people because I do a lot of one-to-one work with people, where they self-sabotage. So what they do is it's called self-handicapping, actually, the sort of psychological phrase they use, self-handicapping. What they basically do is, so you're going to play in a major golf competition, professional golfer. Let's say on the Euro Pro, which is the sort of first stage of golf. You've got Euro Pro, Challenge Tour, and then the big money tour. These guys on this tour get, say, 10 grand if they win, and if you're fifth or worse, you probably barely cover your costs. So this is how a lot of golfers fail in golf, because they don't make enough money to keep going. So as a golfer standing on a practice round, and you're chatting away, and you say, "What's that club you've got in your hand?" He says, "Oh, it's a wedge, and it's a bit worn, and I need a new one for the tournament next week." And I go, "Well, what does a wedge do?" "Well, a wedge gives me control and I can distance, and I can get the ball to within 2 yards, and then more chance of winning." "Is it an important club?" "Yes, it is." "Without a wedge, how would you do?" "I'd struggle." "So you need a new wedge?" "I definitely do, yeah." And then you meet them a few days later. "Did you get the wedge?" "Oh, I've not had time to get the wedge." Then they go and play the tournament a few days later, and they don't win any money. Come 10th, maybe win £100, barely covers their petrol. And then they turn around and say, "Well, of course, the reason I lost is because I didn't have the new wedge. If I'd had the new wedge, why didn't you get a new wedge?" "Oh, I was so busy, and I got tied up with a lot of stuff. I didn't have enough money." So what they've done is they've given themselves the perfect opt-out. If I don't win, I have a very, very good excuse. That's called self-handicapping. The same thing happened at school. If you're at college or school, your mates are standing before you go into an exam saying, "You've been revising and studying." "I was out on the lash last night. I was drinking all night, so I'm absolutely hungover." And the reality is they actually have. They're not just saying it. They've actually not revised. They've actually not studied, because they need to know that if they get a D or an E or an F or whatever, they can say, the reason I failed. And if they turn around with a C, they can turn and say, "Imagine how well I'd have done if I'd revised." So there's a difference between doing the very best that you can. Because for me, doing the best that you can is not just physical, mental. It's having the equipment, it's preparation, tools. So you've got to have a lot of tick boxes to go, are you as ready as you can be? Yeah, now go forward and worry less about the outcome. But don't you come to me and say, "Well, I didn't actually study anything, read anything, and I got a D," because that's not doing the best that you can. That's just winging it. And I won't be unhappy with my daughter if that happens. I love my daughter to bits, and I'll love her forever. But she will be able to look herself in the mirror and go, "Oh, I could have done so much better. Why didn't I put that on? What is it that stopped me?" And then you can deal with that. But she needs to, all I wanted to do is her best, and not self-sabotage along the way by missing things out on purpose so she can give herself a really good excuse.